We've all been there. The pressure is mounting, deadlines are closing in, and emotions are running high. In these moments, our natural instinct is to react, to panic, to stress, to lose control. But what if I told you that the most powerful thing you can do is the exact opposite? Great leaders, great thinkers, and great achievers all have one thing in common. They've trained their minds to remain calm no matter the situation. Because calmness isn't just a personality trait, it's a skill. Think of a pilot flying through turbulence. A trained pilot doesn't panic when the plane shakes. He trusts his training, his instruments, and his ability to handle the situation. His calmness isn't accidental, it's intentional. That same principle applies to life. First, we must learn to control the controllable. The truth is, most of what we stress about is outside of our control, but our reaction, that's ours. Instead of fixating on the problem, focus on the solutions. Ask yourself, what can I do right now? What action can I take? Second, slow down to speed up. In moments of stress, our instinct is to rush, but clarity comes from stillness. When we pause, take a breath, and assess the situation, we make better decisions. Third, shift your perspective. Whatever's happening right now is just one moment in a much bigger picture. Every challenge, every setback, every crisis, it's all temporary. Ask yourself, will this matter a year from now? More often than not, the answer is no. And train your mind daily. Calmness isn't a switch you flip, it's a muscle you build, whether through meditation, deep breathing, or simply practicing patience in everyday situations. Make calmness a habit. Because when you train yourself to be calm in small moments, you'll be prepared when the big moments come. A calm mind isn't just about reducing stress. It's about increasing strength. It's about making better decisions, inspiring confidence in those around you, and ultimately leading a life with clarity and purpose. So the next time life throws chaos your way, remember, you are in control of your response, and in that response lies your power. In the midst of chaos, clarity is a rare and precious commodity. We've all experienced situations where things seem to spiral out of control, when emotions run high, when pressures mount, and when the noise of the world drowns out our ability to think clearly. In these moments, our natural instinct is often to panic, to react impulsively, to let the overwhelming flood of emotions dictate our actions. However, in such times, clarity becomes not just a luxury, but a necessary. When we remain calm in the face of uncertainty, we unlock a powerful ability, the ability to see solutions where others see only problems. Panic obscures our vision, it clouds our judgment and narrows our focus, making it difficult to assess the full scope of a situation. But when we can quiet the noise and calm the storm within, we gain a broader perspective. We start to see options, alternatives, and pathways that were previously hidden. What once seemed impossible now feels possible simply because we've created space for our minds to operate with clarity and focus. This principle is true in every aspect of life, whether it's in our personal relationships, our professional endeavors, or in moments of crisis. Think of the way an experienced surgeon operates under pressure. The operating room may be full of noise, urgency, and stress, yet the surgeon remains composed, methodical, and focused. In that calm, focused state, the surgeon is able to navigate complex decisions with precision, something panic or confusion would never allow. The same is true for us in life. When we take a step back, breathe deeply, and center ourselves, we open ourselves up to the possibility of finding solutions that we otherwise would miss. The problem with panic is that it narrows our perception. When we are overwhelmed by stress, we become hyper-focused on the immediate problem, on the fire in front of us that needs to be put out. This laser-like focus can be helpful in some cases, but often it prevents us from seeing the bigger picture. Panic can lead us to make hasty decisions that, in the long run, may cause more harm than good. The more we rush to solve the problem, the less we think through the long-term consequences of our actions. By contrast, calmness provides perspective. When we are calm, we are better able to zoom out from the problem at hand and see how it fits into the larger narrative of our lives. We can consider various solutions from different angles, weigh the pros and cons, and make decisions that are grounded in logic and reason rather than in emotional reactivity. When we are calm, we give ourselves the mental space to make decisions that will benefit us, not just in the short term, but in the long term as well. Take, for instance, a business leader facing a crisis. When the company hits a rough patch, whether it's financial troubles, a public relations nightmare, or a product failure, the pressure to act can be overwhelming. In that moment, the leader has a choice: panic and react hastily, or take a step back, gather information, and consider the best course of action. A leader who is calm in these situations can assess the available data, consult with trusted advisors, and make decisions that are strategic and thought out. A leader who panics may make rash decisions in an effort to solve the problem quickly, but often these decisions only create more issues down the line. The difference between a leader who succeeds in a crisis and one who falters often comes down to this one simple factor: calmness. So how do we cultivate clarity in chaos? It starts with training the mind. When we practice mindfulness, meditation, or deep breathing, we build the ability to center ourselves in moments of stress. We train ourselves to be present, to detach from the chaos around us, and to focus on the solutions that lie ahead. Clarity does not come from avoiding the chaos, but from choosing to remain calm within it. When you can achieve calmness in the most chaotic of situations, you empower yourself. You no longer become a slave to your emotions or your environment. Instead, you become the master of your mind, guiding it with intention rather than letting it be carried away by the tide of fear or frustration. Clarity in chaos isn't just about seeing the right solution, it's about ensuring that we don't become part of the problem. Panic spreads like wildfire. Calmness, on the other hand, is contagious. When we maintain our composure in difficult situations, we set an example for those around us. We demonstrate that even in the most uncertain of times, our ability to remain calm can lead the way. In this way, clarity in chaos isn't just a personal asset, it's a leadership trait. And in a world that often feels turbulent, the leaders who can remain calm will always stand out. In life, we are constantly faced with situations that feel beyond our control. The uncertainty of the world, the actions of others, and the unexpected twists and turns of life often leave us feeling helpless. However, the key to maintaining peace and progress in any situation is to recognize one simple truth: you can only control what you can control. The more we focus on what is outside of our influence, the more we give away our power. But when we direct our energy toward the things we can change, we empower ourselves to move forward with confidence and clarity. The first step in mastering the art of controlling the controllable is recognizing the difference between what is within your sphere of influence and what is not. You cannot control the weather, the actions of others, or even the outcome of certain events. However, you can control your own reactions, your mindset, and the choices you make in response to the world around you. The mistake many people make is that they become so focused on trying to change the things they cannot control that they neglect the things they can. They waste time and energy fixating on circumstances or people that are outside of their influence, and in doing so, they drain their emotional reserves and lose sight of their true power. Think of a river flowing toward the sea. It may encounter rocks, branches, or fallen trees along the way, but it does not stop or fight the obstacles in its path. Instead, it flows around them, adjusting its course as needed, but always moving forward. The river cannot change the rocks or the obstacles in its way, but it can control its own path. In the same way, we must learn to focus on what we can control: our actions, our responses, and our mindset, and let go of the things that are out of our reach. One of the most powerful things you can do for your mental well-being is to accept the things that are beyond your control. This doesn't mean you give up on improving your circumstances or resign yourself to a life of passivity. Rather, it means you stop wasting energy on things that are outside your influence and focus on the areas where you have the ability to make a difference. When you do this, you free yourself from frustration, anxiety, and feelings of helplessness. For example, you can't control how others treat you, but you can control how you respond to their actions. If someone insults you or mistreats you, you may not be able to change their behavior, but you have the power to choose how you react. Will you retaliate, adding fuel to the fire? Or will you take a step back, breathe, and respond with dignity and grace? The former only perpetuates conflict, while the latter allows you to maintain your peace and integrity. By choosing your response, you take control of the situation and free yourself from the power others may try to wield over you. You may face situations at work, in your personal life, or in your community where external factors seem to dictate the outcome. In these instances, focusing on what you can control is essential. You cannot control the decisions of your colleagues, your boss, or the economy, but you can control your own effort, your attitude, and your commitment to personal growth. By dedicating yourself to improving in areas where you have influence, whether it's mastering a skill, honing your communication, or fostering stronger relationships, you set yourself up for success, regardless of external circumstances. The real power in controlling the controllable lies in its ability to shift your perspective. When you focus on what you can change, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as an active participant in your own life. You become empowered. When you shift your focus from what's out of your control to what is, you begin to see opportunity in every challenge. Even when the world feels uncertain, you have the ability to control your mindset, your work ethic, and your determination. It's important to remember that controlling the controllable doesn't mean that you will never face hardship, frustration, or difficulty. Life is unpredictable, and things will not always go as planned. But by focusing on what you can influence, you give yourself the strength to face these challenges with resilience. You build a mindset that remains flexible, adaptable, and solution-focused. When you let go of the need to control everything, you create space for growth, learning, and the discovery of new solutions. The secret to finding peace and progress in life lies in this simple yet profound concept. Control what you can and let go of the rest. The more you practice this principle, the more freedom you will feel, the less energy you expend on external factors, the more you will have to focus on your own personal growth, your relationships, and the positive changes you can create in the world. When you focus on the controllable, you unlock your full potential and you start to move through life with greater purpose, confidence, and peace. Our emotions are not random, nor are they completely beyond our control. Often we operate under the assumption that our emotions simply happen to us, that they are spontaneous and uncontrollable. But what if I told you that the emotions you experience are actually a direct result of the thoughts you have? Your mindset, your internal dialogue, the stories you tell yourself, and the way you perceive the world dictates how you feel. If you can change your thoughts, you can change your emotional state. In fact, emotion follows thought. It's a concept that is both simple and profound. The way we think shapes the way we feel. When we think positively, we feel positive. When we think negatively, we feel negative. The key to mastering our emotions lies in mastering our minds. This doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring our emotions, but rather taking control of the thought patterns that lead to those emotions. Once we understand this connection, we begin to realize that we have the power to shift our emotional state by shifting our mindset. Consider this: how often do you find yourself spiraling into negative emotions after a stressful thought or situation? Maybe you think about a mistake you made at work and suddenly you feel anxious, frustrated, or even defeated. Or perhaps you dwell on a negative comment someone made, and that thought sends you into a downward emotional spiral. The truth is, your emotions are a direct reflection of the thoughts you choose to focus on. If you change the thoughts, you can change the emotions that follow. Take a moment to reflect on the last time you felt a surge of joy or excitement. What were you thinking about at that time? Chances are you were focusing on something positive, something that made you feel good. Whether it was a happy memory, a future goal, or a moment of gratitude, your thoughts aligned with your emotions, creating an uplifting and energizing feeling. Now think about a time when you felt down, defeated, or anxious. In those moments, what were you thinking about? Perhaps it was a worry about the future, a regret from the past, or a perceived failure. The negative thought led to a negative emotional state. In both cases, the emotions you experienced were a direct result of the thoughts that dominated your mind. This realization holds a powerful key to emotional mastery. If we can control our thoughts, we can control our emotions. The first step in changing our emotional state is recognizing the thoughts that trigger unwanted emotions. When you become aware of your internal dialogue, you give yourself the power to challenge and change it. If your thoughts are negative, critical, or self-defeating, they will lead to negative emotions. But if your thoughts are constructive, positive, and compassionate, your emotional state will shift accordingly. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine you've just received a piece of constructive feedback at work. If you interpret this feedback with the thought, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never improve," those thoughts will trigger feelings of inadequacy, frustration, and defeat. But if you interpret the feedback with the thought, "This is an opportunity to learn and grow," or "I can use this to get better," your emotions will shift to feelings of motivation, empowerment, and optimism. The same external event, the feedback, has resulted in entirely different emotional states based on the thoughts you chose to focus on. And this is why training the mind is so important. When we learn to consciously choose our thoughts, we are not only improving our mindset, but we are also shaping our emotional well-being. In fact, when we consistently choose empowering and positive thoughts, we can rewire our brains to naturally default to a more positive emotional state. Just as physical exercise strengthens our muscles, mental exercise strengthens our ability to manage our emotions. Over time, this becomes a habit, and we begin to navigate life with greater emotional resilience, calm, and clarity. But how do we train our minds? One powerful way is through mindfulness and self-awareness. Take a moment to observe your thoughts, particularly when negative emotions arise. What are you telling yourself in that moment? Are you catastrophizing? Are you focusing on past mistakes? Are you anticipating future problems? Once you become aware of the thought patterns that trigger negative emotions, you can replace them with more constructive, positive thoughts. Practice reframing situations. Instead of thinking, "This is too hard, I'll never make it," try thinking, "This is challenging, but I have the skills to overcome it." Instead of thinking, "I'm a failure," try thinking, "I made a mistake, but I can learn from it and do better next time." Another way to shift your emotional state is through gratitude. Gratitude is a powerful tool that shifts your focus from what's wrong to what's right. By consciously practicing gratitude, whether through journaling or simply reflecting on the positive aspects of your life, you train your mind to focus on the good, which naturally lifts your emotional state. The connection between thought and emotion is undeniable. When you change the way you think, you change the way you feel. By training your mind to focus on positivity, resilience, and possibility, you set the stage for a life of emotional balance and fulfillment. You are not at the mercy of your emotions. You are the architect of your emotional world. The next time you find yourself caught in a negative emotional spiral, remember, your mind holds the key to your emotion. Change your thoughts and your emotions will follow. In today's fast-paced world, we're constantly told to move faster, act quickly, and make rapid decisions. There's an unspoken belief that speed equals success, that the faster we do things, the more efficient we are, and the quicker we reach our goals. While there is truth in the idea that time is valuable, there is an even greater truth that often gets overlooked. Slowing down can actually make us more effective and allow us to achieve more in less time. At first glance, slowing down might seem counterintuitive. After all, when we're in a rush, we feel like we have to hurry through everything to meet deadlines, manage our responsibilities, and keep up with the demands of life. However, when we take a moment to slow down, to calm our minds and focus our thoughts, we can make better, more thoughtful decisions that ultimately lead to faster and more effective outcomes in the long run. In short, slowing down to speed up is not about being less productive. It's about being smarter, more intentional, and more efficient in the way we work. The idea behind slowing down to speed up is rooted in the understanding that a calm mind is a clearer mind. When we're rushed, stressed, or overwhelmed, we often make decisions based on impulse or fear rather than logic and reason. We may jump into projects without fully understanding the scope or potential consequences, or we may react hastily to challenges without thinking through the best possible course of action. This rush to get things done often leads to mistakes, misjudgments, and setbacks that slow us down even more in the end. Conversely, when we take the time to slow down, we give ourselves the mental space to make thoughtful, well-informed decisions. A calm mind allows us to see the bigger picture, consider all options, and avoid knee-jerk reactions. By taking a moment to pause and reflect before acting, we increase our ability to choose the most effective path forward. This thoughtful approach may take a little more time up front, but it ultimately saves us time by preventing costly mistakes and wasted effort. Think about a chess player in the middle of a game. If they rushed to make moves without considering the entire board, they would quickly lose control of the game. But a skilled player takes their time, observing the position of all the pieces, considering the consequences of each potential move, and then making a calculated decision. While the player may not always make a move in the fastest possible time, each decision is made with purpose and precision, and as a result, the player wins the game with less wasted effort and greater success. The same principle applies in our lives and work. When we slow down and focus on the task at hand, whether it's a major project, a tough decision, or even just a conversation with someone, we allow ourselves the space to make more thoughtful, strategic choices. Instead of rushing through tasks just to check them off a list, we focus on quality over quantity, which leads to more effective and meaningful results. One of the most powerful ways to slow down and gain clarity is through mindfulness and deep breathing exercises. By taking a few moments throughout the day to center ourselves, calm our minds, and focus on our breath, we allow our brains to reset and refocus. This simple practice reduces stress, clears mental fog, and enhances our decision-making ability. When we are calm, we are able to think more clearly, act with greater intention, and move forward with confidence. It's also important to recognize that slowing down isn't about procrastination or avoidance. It's not about sitting still and doing nothing. Instead, it's about being intentional with our time and energy, carefully considering the most effective way to approach each situation. This can involve pausing to gather the necessary information, consulting with others, or simply taking a moment to reflect before moving forward. It's about giving ourselves permission to slow down so that we can make smarter, more deliberate choices that lead to better outcomes. One practical example of slowing down to speed up can be seen in the way we approach problem solving. When we face a challenge, our natural instinct may be to rush into action, trying to fix the issue as quickly as possible. But if we take a step back, ask the right questions, and carefully analyze the situation, we often find that the solution is clearer and easier to implement than we originally thought. By taking the time to fully understand the problem, we avoid jumping to conclusions or making unnecessary moves that could make the problem worse. In work environments, slowing down to speed up can also have a profound impact on teamwork and collaboration. When we rush through meetings, conversations, or brainstorming sessions, we miss out on valuable insights and ideas. By taking the time to listen actively, to give people space to share their thoughts, and to pause and reflect on what's being said, we foster deeper connections and more effective collaboration. Slowing down in this way creates a foundation of trust, understanding, and mutual respect, which ultimately leads to more efficient teamwork and greater success. The truth is, time is not the enemy, it's our relationship with time and our ability to manage our minds that determines how effectively we use it. By learning to slow down, we give ourselves the opportunity to act more deliberately and strategically, which leads to faster results and better outcomes. So, the next time you feel rushed, pressured, or overwhelmed, remember that taking a moment to slow down might be the key to achieving more. A calm mind leads to clear thinking, smart decisions, and ultimately greater success. When we slow down to speed up, we unlock our true potential and set ourselves on a path toward more effective, meaningful, and fulfilling progress. One of the most empowering realizations we can have in life is that every situation is temporary. Whether it's a moment of joy or a moment of hardship, everything we experience will pass. The highs won't last forever, and the lows won't either. This truth, though simple, has the power to transform the way we approach challenges, setbacks, and even successes. When we understand the impermanent nature of all things, we gain the ability to respond rather than react, to make thoughtful decisions instead of impulsive ones. Our natural instinct as human beings is often to react to the present moment with intense emotions. When something bad happens, we might immediately feel anger, frustration, or fear. When something good happens, we might feel elation, excitement, or pride. However, these emotional reactions, especially when they are impulsive, can cloud our judgment and lead to decisions that we later regret. By remembering that everything is temporary, we gain the mental distance needed to respond with clarity, balance, and intention. Think of a difficult situation you've faced in your life. At the time, it probably felt overwhelming, like there was no end in sight. Maybe it was a challenging project at work, a difficult relationship, or a personal failure. The emotions that accompany that situation may have made you feel like the weight of the world was on your shoulders. But when you look back on it now, what do you see? Chances are that situation no longer feels as pressing. You've moved past it, and even though it may have been tough at the time, it's no longer the defining factor in your life. That's the power of perspective. When we fail to recognize the temporary nature of our circumstances, we can get stuck in the emotion of the moment. We react impulsively because we believe that the situation will last forever. This is why we sometimes make rash decisions in the heat of the moment, whether it's saying something in anger, quitting in frustration, or making a choice based on fear. These reactions are often driven by the belief that the present discomfort will persist indefinitely. But when we acknowledge that everything is temporary, we shift our focus from the emotional intensity of the moment to the bigger picture. For example, consider a stressful deadline at work. The pressure might feel unbearable, and the temptation to act impulsively, whether by rushing through the task or procrastinating out of fear, can be overwhelming. But when you remind yourself that this deadline is only temporary, you create a mental space to approach the task with calm and focus. You can break it down into manageable steps, think strategically, and move through it with patience, knowing that this moment of pressure will soon pass. This understanding also allows us to approach moments of success with humility. Success, too, is temporary. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a win, but if we hold on to that high for too long, we risk losing perspective. We may begin to make decisions based on our inflated sense of self, or get complacent because we believe that the success will last forever. However, when we realize that success, like failure, is fleeting, we can enjoy our victories without becoming attached to them, remaining grounded and focused on the next challenge. In difficult situations, the temporary nature of the moment is perhaps even more valuable. If you're facing personal struggles, grief, or hardship, it can be hard to see beyond the pain. The weight of the moment may feel suffocating, but by reminding yourself that this moment will eventually pass, you gain the strength to endure it. When you embrace the truth that pain is temporary, you give yourself permission to keep moving forward. You remind yourself that your circumstances do not define you, and they will not last forever. This perspective is incredibly liberating. It allows you to endure the toughest of times with resilience, knowing that change is on the horizon. One way to cultivate this perspective is by practicing mindfulness and reflection. Taking a step back to observe the situation without judgment allows you to see it for what it truly is: temporary. When you feel overwhelmed, pause, breathe, reflect, ask yourself, is this situation permanent? Will I feel this way forever? The answer, more often than not, is no. This simple practice helps you detach from the emotional intensity of the moment and regain control over your reactions. In a world that constantly demands more of us, resilience is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. Resilience is often misunderstood as an innate trait, something that only certain people possess. However, resilience is not something you're born with, it's something you build, a habit you develop over time. Staying calm in the face of adversity is not a one-time occurrence. It's a skill that must be practiced consistently. Like any other skill, the more you practice resilience, the stronger and more natural it becomes. When life throws challenges our way, whether personal, professional, or emotional, the instinctive reaction is often to panic, react impulsively, or give up. These reactions are rooted in our natural fight or flight response, which is an evolutionary mechanism designed to protect us. While this reaction can be useful in life-threatening situations, it is not always the best approach when we face challenges in our everyday lives. Instead of reacting, Resilient individuals practice the art of responding calmly and with intention. They understand that no matter the difficulty, staying composed is not only possible, it is essential. But just like learning any skill, whether it's playing an instrument, learning a new language, or training for a sport, resilience requires deliberate practice. It doesn't come naturally to everyone at first. The process begins with recognizing that just like physical strength, mental and emotional resilience can be developed over time through consistent effort. The more we practice staying calm, the more it becomes second nature to us. It becomes the lens through which we view the world, helping us navigate challenges with clarity and determination rather than fear or frustration. One of the first steps in building resilience is embracing discomfort. So often we seek comfort, avoiding situations that might push us out of our emotional or mental comfort zone, but true growth comes when we choose to stay in discomfort and learn how to navigate it. Every time you face a challenge, you have the opportunity to strengthen your resilience. Whether it's handling a difficult conversation, dealing with a setback at work, or processing personal loss, each moment of discomfort is an opportunity to practice staying calm and centered. The more we lean into these moments rather than avoid them, the more we strengthen our emotional resilience. The power of resilience lies in the ability to pause and take control of our response. When faced with a stressful situation, the most resilient people do not immediately react. They take a moment to breathe, assess the situation, and decide on the best course of action. This pause doesn't mean ignoring the emotions we feel. It simply means creating enough mental space to respond from a place of calm rather than being overtaken by emotion. This skill takes practice, and over time it becomes an automatic response in moments of stress. One way to practice resilience is through mindfulness and self-reflection. Mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions without being controlled by them. Through mindfulness practices, we become aware of our emotional triggers and learn how to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Simple practices like deep breathing, meditation, or journaling can help cultivate resilience, allowing us to ground ourselves in moments of crisis and regain our emotional balance. By consistently practicing mindfulness, we make it easier to remain calm when life gets tough. Another key to resilience is reframing challenges. Instead of viewing a difficult situation as a threat or insurmountable obstacle, resilient individuals reframe it as an opportunity for growth. They ask themselves, what can I learn from this, rather than focusing on the pain or frustration of the moment. This shift in perspective allows us to approach challenges with a growth mindset, believing that every experience, no matter how difficult, is an opportunity to become stronger. When we view adversity as a tool for personal growth, we are better equipped to handle future difficulties with confidence and resilience. It's also important to remember that resilience is built through small, consistent actions. It's easy to think of resilience as something you either have or don't have, but it's actually something that grows gradually. Each time you choose to stay calm in a stressful situation, you reinforce that behavior and strengthen your ability to handle future stress. Just as going to the gym strengthens your muscles over time, practicing resilience strengthens your emotional and mental fortitude. Consistency is key. It's not about being perfect. Resilience doesn't mean you'll never get overwhelmed or frustrated. It means that when you do feel overwhelmed, you have the tools and the mindset to bounce back and stay centered. Even the most resilient people face moments of doubt or struggle, but they don't let those moments define them. They recognize that setbacks are temporary and that they have the ability to recover and adapt. Every time you pick yourself back up, you're strengthening the habit of resilience, making it easier to stay calm and composed the next time a challenge arises. Building resilience also means developing a strong sense of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. When you understand your own emotional triggers, patterns, and reactions, you become better equipped to manage your emotions in difficult situations. Self-awareness gives you the power to choose your response instead of being controlled by your feelings. It allows you to pause, assess, and take action in a way that aligns with your values and goals rather than acting out of impulse or fear. The more you practice resilience, the more resilient you become. It's a snowball effect. Each time you navigate a challenge with calm and thoughtfulness, you build a stronger foundation for handling future difficulties. Resilience doesn't just make you better at handling adversity, it also enhances your overall well-being, your relationships, and your ability to thrive in all areas of life. Resilience is not something you either have or don't have. It is a habit that anyone can develop, and like any skill, it requires consistent practice. By embracing discomfort, practicing mindfulness, reframing challenges, and being consistent in our efforts, we can strengthen our ability to stay calm in the face of adversity. So the next time you face a challenging situation, remember, resilience is within you, and with practice, it becomes your default response. Keep building that habit, and over time, you'll find that you are capable of handling life's challenges with grace, strength, and unwavering calm. In conclusion, the journey to mastering resilience and maintaining calm in every situation is not an overnight process. It requires commitment, practice, and a deep understanding that every challenge, every success, and every setback is temporary. By consistently training our minds, embracing discomfort, and choosing thoughtful responses over impulsive reactions, we can cultivate a resilience that serves us in every aspect of life. Remember, resilience is a habit, one that when practiced consistently becomes an unwavering strength that will guide us through even the toughest of times. Thank you all for your time and attention. May you continue to embrace resilience, stay calm in the face of challenges, and remember that each moment is an opportunity to practice and grow stronger.